My first question is, what could community engagement look like at its best in Hepburn? What do you reckon meaningful?
At its best, well, I think it's meaningful, timely consultation with the community before council considers making important decisions, with the emphasis on timely, like well ahead of the decision-making time frame. For the consultation with the community to be genuine, people have to be given reasonable notice of what the agenda item is, what the options are, what decisions need to be taken, so that they can properly consider all of the different options and implications of the various decisions, have some good solid input into the decision making. So it's interactive, it's two-way, well ahead of time, and people will at least then feel that they've got a real opportunity to influence the outcome, but also that they're being taken seriously, they're being consulted, their viewpoint is taken on board, and that they're having good solid input into it. That it's not a quick and dirty tick the box exercise. Did we consult with the community? Yep, let's move on and do what we were going to do anyway. It's quite different to that.
Yeah, great. So the nuts and bolts, like a little bit of what that might look like. Like, do you have ideas around, because I know that there have been a bunch of surveys and there are some processes that are already in place. Do you have some ideas for other things that you would like to, not locking you into anything, but it feels like it's what might be something that you would be interested in trying, or some things that you think might influence that meaning?
Well, I think the existing channels and things like surveys might fit the bill on for some topics, for some of the more relatively minor decisions or ideas that have to be decided on. But if it's something that's really important, there has to be a whole new process. It has to look and feel different for it to be a genuine consultation. Now, again, the emphasis on timing, that well ahead, like months ahead of the decision needing to be taken, council needs to be transparent and say, well, here's the subject, here's what we need to decide on, and set up mechanisms where various groups and individuals can then have their input well ahead of time. So it's a whole new process. Council could go to existing organisations, representative bodies. They could call for more input. They could set up small groups to do that sort of thing, and throw it open to individuals as well, in such a way that people don't feel daunted, and that they feel that people will put a lot of work into it. Many people will appreciate that sort of opportunity, and they'll spend a lot of time and effort researching whatever the decision is. So they need time to do that, and they need a process to do that where it's interactive, and they sit down with council officers and councillors many times before the end result is reached. So it would be a whole new process. It's not the sort of thing that's done at the moment, not to the extent that I'm imagining it should be done by.
Yeah, the timing stuff feels like it's really, really key, hey?
Well, doing things that way should avoid major errors and major, certainly waste of resources, council funds, for example, and the time of officers and councillors, and controversial outcomes that could be and should be avoided if there is genuine consultation on both sides and the council is listening. So it's very much in council's interest to avoid major controversies and delays. I think that's an important aspect of it too.
Yeah, no, I agree. So I had a question which was just in terms of one of the other things that's happening at the moment is we're in COVID land, and I just imagine that has had an influence on candidates in terms of how they're able to communicate with community, and I'm just curious about how you're managing to have those conversations, but also potentially what you're hearing around people wanting to have a voice, because I think that's been a big part of your campaign. So yeah.
Yes. Well, it certainly has been frustrating with the COVID restrictions. It's understandable why they're in place, and we have to respect them. But for a challenging candidate, someone challenging the incumbent, it makes the job a bit more difficult. That's for sure. We're limited in what we can do. We obviously can do things online with Facebook pages and the like. I've distributed many flyers right throughout my the ward through a team of helpers, and putting the flyers into people's letterboxes and mailing out letters to the editor, writing in our local publications, the Trentham Trumpet and the like. They've done a good job, because they virtually interviewed the 3 candidates, and they put a set of 15 questions to the 3 of us, which we answered, and they published those answers. So it was sort of a de facto town hall debate, because the questions came from community members.
Yeah.
So we've been able to do a few things. That certainly has some impact. I mean, I've had phone calls and emails from people when they've received the flyers, and they've had conversations. They've rung to ask a few questions, clarify a couple of points. They've all been quite positive and supportive, which is nice. So yeah, it's a different process this time around compared to what normally would be happening, of course, but we just have to deal with that and try and get people's engagement too, to get them really interested in the fact that, hey, there is an election, it's once every 4 years, and it's grassroots democracy, and it's going to affect your day-to-day life. So, but we understand too that they're probably pretty worn out by this time of the year, and being such an unusual year, and they'll have lots of other important things on their mind too. So I think it's a matter of trying to grab their attention too at a difficult time.
Do you have any examples that come to mind for yourself of community participation? It kind of comes back to that thing that you were talking about earlier about avoiding the mistakes, but I think also there's something to be said for harnessing community kind of momentum and care around particular topics. And I'm just wondering, in your community, whether you've got examples of where you think, not necessarily related to council, but where community participation and engagement has led to really positive things. Really?
Well, I see council as, okay, local government is it's the grassroots level of government. It's delivering services and infrastructure that people need in their day-to-day lives, and it has a real impact on them. And it's local. It's something they can really relate to, whatever the service or infrastructure is, whether it's a library or a kindergarten or that sort of thing. So it's important that they have a say in how that looks and operates and what they get. So it's very grassroots, it's very hands-on. Therefore, it shouldn't have some of the aspects that state government and federal government have, where it's all argy-bargy and one councillor fighting with another or one member fighting with another and all that unproductive stuff. That this is about getting on with doing real things that affect people daily, and making good, solid decisions that are based on evidence. In my working experience, in industries, you want to make decisions based on evidence and make sure that resources are being allocated to the right place at the right time to get the right result. Now, you can only do that and get the necessary evidence. One aspect of the necessary evidence is what the community wants and what they need. So it's just common sense to me that they need to be consulted and listened to in order to make good, solid decisions that don't waste resources and don't waste time and don't build white elephants or miss things that really should be done, get the priorities right. So it's pretty basic, it's pretty simple. Communication's two-way as well. And look, obviously it can work, but it takes a different attitude, particularly for council officers and councillors, to embrace that it's a change, but it's worthwhile doing. It really needs to be done. And look, I think Hepburn Shire can turn itself around. We're obviously going to have some new blood on the council after this election. There's going to be a number of at least 3 new faces. So I'm encouraged that there can be and will be change for the better.
Thanks so much, Brian. Really appreciate it.
No worries, Christy. I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for your time too.
All right. Enjoy your day.